dear President of the American College of Greece, dear Chairman and members of the Board of Directors, Dean of ALBA Graduate School, Business School, dear faculty members, dear guests, and of course, dear graduates. I feel so honored to be here today in your most important ceremony of the year. I will start with something that happened 4 years ago. One evening, while we were having dinner, my daughter, who was 4.5 years old, turned to me and she said, "Dad, what's happening now? Is it real or is it a dream?" I responded automatically, "Real, of course." And she said, "But how do we know?" I thought for a moment and I responded, "Indeed, you are right. We don't know. It might be real, it might be a dream, but does it really matter?" And she replied, "No, but what if the person whose dream we are part of suddenly wakes up?" I was left speechless. I was not prepared for this kind of answer. But I had just realized how naturally prepared is the brain of a child to challenge the unchallenged. How many blocks our parents, the educational systems, the society put in front of us later on. So this is what I decided to talk to you about today, about challenging the unchallenged, about unlearning the truth hidden in axioms, hidden in collective thinking, hidden in prejudices and stereotypes, hidden even in objects, everyday objects. Unlearning means disputing the established, questioning the accepted. Unlearning is not about forgetting, it's about the ability to choose an alternative mental model paradigm. When we learn, we add new skills or knowledge on what we already know. When we unlearn, we step outside the mental model in order to choose a different one. Were you taught geography in your MBA studies? I suppose not. But you were in elementary and secondary school, all of you, right? Geography is my favorite subject. When I was young, I mean very young, about 10, I knew by heart all the countries and capitals of the world. I could recall any information written on the world map. I've brought a map with me. So, I had a map like this at home. I guess the same map that you had either at home or in classrooms during your school years, right? In the last 500 years, this kind of map has been used to teach our children about our planet. Have you ever thought what's wrong with this map? I will leave it here down so that our graduate can see it. This map is called the Mercator projection. The map, most commonly seen hanging in classrooms and in textbooks, was created by Gerardus Mercator in 1569 to help sailors navigate the world. So what's wrong? What's wrong that nobody told me at that time? Look at the equator. Instead of dividing equally the Earth between the northern and the southern hemisphere, the map allocates only 1/3 to the south. Had you noticed this before? This familiar map gives the right shapes of land masses, but at the cost of distorting their sizes in favor of the powerful of the north. For instance, North America looks at least as big, if not slightly larger than Africa. In fact, you can fit in North America into Africa and still have space for India, Argentina, Tunisia, and some left over. South America should be twice the size of Europe. Greenland should be 14 times smaller than Africa. The map suggests that Scandinavian countries are larger than India, whereas in reality India is 3 times the size of Scandinavian countries put together. So the world is not as it seems. Humanity has been brainwashed by this Flemish mapmaker who has trapped us in a colonial matrix for 500 years now. But what are the symbolism behind this map? What does it say about the exploitation of Global South by Global North? The Mercator projection vastly exaggerates the imperialist powers at the expense of developing countries and continents like Africa that are scant to inferiority. An exploitation which has taken different forms throughout the history, but is still there. Nowadays in more undercover and sophisticated way, such as, for example, the creation of tax havens. But even if we correct the dimension and the distortions of this map, still is a mere convention the fact that our maps put the North at the top. A convention that has been accepted as correct in most of the world. From our earlier encounters in learning, Northern Hemisphere, associated with wealth and significance, has been etched to our subconsciousness as superior, because it's literally on the top. Psychologists have proven that most people think of North as up and up as good. During an experiment, when shown a map of a hypothetical city and asked where they would like to live, people were significantly more likely to choose an area in the north of the city. And where another group of people were asked where fictitious people of different social status would live, they plotted them on the map with the richest in the north and the poorest in the south. Deconstructing this familiar map we have been taught and using for so many years is just an example. It's just a trigger to help us reflect on the biases, perceptions, beliefs, accumulated knowledge embedded in our brains, which has never been challenged. When I was 10 years old, along with my passion with geography, I wanted to become an astronaut. Nothing original, of course. Almost everyone has dreamed this at least one during childhood, I guess. Later I changed my mind, and I didn't, like none of you, I guess, also. But why to become an astronaut? A sense of overcoming human nature, becoming superhuman, superhero, satisfy curiosity for the unknown, adventure, escape from Earth to explore other planets. Nevertheless, let's listen to those who did it. What actually did they learn or unlearn? An Apollo astronaut said, "When we originally went to the moon, our total focus was on the moon. We weren't thinking about looking back at the Earth. But now that we have done it, that may well have been the most important reason we went. It was quite a shock. I don't think any of us had any expectations about how it would give us such a different perspective. I think the focus had been, we are going to the stars, we are going to the other planets. And suddenly, we look back at ourselves, and it seems to imply a new kind of self-awareness. Seeing Earth from space is one of the most powerful experiences that a human being can have. Psychologists have studied the so-called overview effect, which describes the cognitive shift from some astronauts and cosmonauts experience when they first see our planet in the context of the wider universe. It is the experience of a true awe, which has a transformational impact, because astronauts could see through the window of their spacecraft that there are no borders or boundaries on our planet, except those created by human beings. They perceived the Earth as an undivided whole populated by an equally undivided humanity. And this as a live experience, not as an attractive, abstract concept. Freed for their earthbound point of view, they were able to see the universe as a single, seamless phenomenon. And they returned home bringing the message that human beings are capable of perceiving and thinking from the whole and not just about the whole. The boxes we live and work in on Earth appear real just because we ourselves had drawn their lines. This is a trap of human brain. Human brain needs to create distinctions to make sense of the world, but forgets that it made them, and then these distinctions appear to exist in reality, independently of us. Garan, a former NASA astronaut who spent several months on the International Space Station, struck by this apocalyptic contradiction, said, "On the one hand, I saw this incredibly beautiful, fragile oasis, the Earth. On the other, I was faced with the unfortunate realities of life on our planet for many of its inhabitants. Those that don't have enough good food to eat, clean water to drink. Those that face poverty and conflicts." This undeniable sense of inconsistency seems to be a necessary element from breaking free from the conventional Earth perspective. The breathtaking beauty of our planet versus the wretched living conditions of many of its inhabitants. The unity of a single undivided world versus the numerous destructive wars being fought over arbitrary lines on a map. It is logical that this transformational experience made those who lived it more patient, less materialistic, and more willing to volunteer to help others. That's why Anousheh Ansari, the first female private space explorer, said she believes that world leaders should be made to experience what she had seen and feel what she was feeling. If so, she said, they would see the world in a new light and as a result come up with very different policies. I think I will disagree with her, with this statement. No, we don't need to send world leaders to the moon to make the change, unless we leave them there forever, of course, which is not a bad idea. The change starts from here and now, from our mindset shifts followed by actions. Dear ALBA graduates, you are here today because you have completed successfully a very demanding task. And you are very privileged that you have completed it with ALBA. This is the result of your efforts, but also the result of a decision. Your decision to engage in a learning journey, which definitely doesn't end today. This moment is just one more stop. A stop for celebration, self-reflection, replanning on how you will get to your destination, or possibly redefining your destination. You are also privileged by the fact you were born in the north of this world map. It's up to you now. It is your choice how you will use this power. Will you use it by preventing others of gaining it, or we will use it by sharing it and empowering others? There is a call for you to continue your splendid voyage of discovery with new eyes, the eyes of a critical global citizen. If I were Konstantinos Kavafis, I would say, may your road be long. If I were Nikos Kazantzakis, I would say, may your road be uphill. Whatever road you choose, whatever your road will be, when you feel powerless, please remember the wise African proverb that says, if you think you are too small to have an impact, try going to sleep with a mosquito. Thank you.